Okay, we're gonna get started, and John Northrup is gonna not be on the screen because he is gonna have the agenda on his computer. So he's here. I don't know if you can see him, but we have John muted, and we also have Colette Kunkel in here, and she's muted, and Julie McQuarters in here. And then I'm gonna unmute our board members that are at home so they can hear us. So Corey.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Kim, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, my screen says Lydia. It's still up from her Zoom.
No, that's okay. Debbie, can you hear us?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. And then Mr. Aker is here. I'm gonna unmute you, and Mr. Luther, I'm gonna unmute you. And everybody else that's on, if you want to speak later during the public forum, just remember to hit your raise hand button. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Okay, at 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. The first meeting we have tonight is the budget hearing for the 2020-2021 proposed budget. It's a public hearing. Any president have any questions or comments on the budget? Julie, I think the tax rate was the same or just a little bit less, if I remember right, than what it was last year.
Yep, it was actually a couple pennies less as of right now, but generally after we certify our budget, some numbers come in later from the county and the state might tweak it a penny or two, but we're right there last year.
Okay. Any board members or anybody in the audience, public, have any questions on the 2020-2021 budget? Hearing no questions, I will take a motion to adjourn the public hearing on the budget.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn the public hearing. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign. Public hearing for the budget is adjourned. We'll now call the regular board meeting to order. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda for tonight's meeting?
No.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda's approved. Okay, we'll move into the consent items. Anybody have any questions or comments on the consent items?
One, there was gas for Pam. She did a lighting thing. It was $50. I didn't know, did she make more than one trip?
I think it was like 3 trips.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah.
To make more than one trip. Okay, good.
We have any other questions or comments on the consent items from board members? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
Move.
We have a motion to approve the consent items. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor to approve the consent items, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent items are approved. Does not look like we have any correspondence or early learning center report this month. I think the early learning center's shut down right now, so as the school is. So, the next item on the agenda is public forum. This is an opportunity for public to express their concerns or views to the school board. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody for public forum?
Is anyone? Oh, Kay, got it. Okay, I see your hand, Kay. I'm going to call on you. Kay, can you hear us?
I can.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to touch base on what the decision so far is regarding the possible combination of the 3rd grade class for the fall.
There really hasn't been much of a decision made right now. I mean, we've all gotten your emails, and we appreciate those. Just the current conversation we had last month is just looking at possibilities of where we could cut in the budget. And that was an idea of combining the 2 3rd grades into 1 3rd grade, but that wasn't a decision or anything like that that's been made. It was just a conversation.
So when will a decision be made regarding that then?
It would probably, if we decided to combine them into 1 class, the board would have to take action on that, and it would probably be during the May board meeting. But
What about regarding when to start hiring? Because I know a majority of the parents are not on board with that decision right now. And I've spoken with many of them, and they all agree that we do not want our children combined for this fall year.
Right. We all got your emails. And so the decision it would probably be made after the May board meeting if the board decided to combine them. Because right now it hasn't been decided that. Right now
Okay.
it just stays the same unless the board takes an action to combine the 2 classes. It would just stay as it is now, 2 classes. So the board would have to make a decision to change the way we've been doing business. So as of right now, it's just 2 classes.
So if I understand correctly, then if Mr. Aker has started the process of hiring and interviewing, he can go ahead and tell them we're looking for a 4th grade teacher along with the 3rd grade teacher.
Well, I mean,
If you're saying that the decision hasn't been made to not to go against it, then technically that he's okay to go ahead and say, are you interested in 3rd grade position or a 4th grade position? Because the decision hasn't been made to combine into 1 class. Right now, we're thinking still moving forward with 2, so we need a new teacher.
Right now we've advertised for a 3rd grade position, and we are interviewing people for the 3rd grade position. And that would be an administrative decision. So I would have to visit with Mr. Aker, and we would talk about, what is he looking for in a 4th grade position and what kind of requirements. When we made the ad, right now, the people that we advertised for were for the 3rd grade position, and they're what we're looking for in a 3rd grade teacher, which is very likely similar to what we'd be looking for in a 4th
Upper elementary, yes. So then what's the process to allow Mr. Aker to move forward with that?
We would
If
have
the decision hasn't been made to combine the class.
Mr. Aker and I would have a conversation about that. And we meet on a regular basis. And so he and I will talk about it and go from there. But, we'll get direction from the school board. I mean, if they're going to tell us, if they're planning to tell us that they don't want us to get a second 4th grade teacher, they would probably let us know that before we start really spending a lot of time and effort trying to look for a 4th grade teacher. But until that time, I don't, like, the people he's interviewing this week are for the 3rd grade job.
So then can we go ahead and try to make a decision before the next May meeting, since right now is probably the prime to try to hire teachers?
Well, this is a good time to hire teachers, but any time between now and May is still a great time to hire teachers. Even you get a lot of great teachers in June, so it doesn't have to be decided this week. And, there's a lot of stuff going on that a lot of districts are just right now kind of in a holding pattern because of this whole Corona thing. it's really kind of impacted timelines for everything. So while this is a really, really big decision, we are, as a board and a district, trying to make a lot of really big decisions right now. So, but this is definitely one that is on our radar. I can say that. Is
Okay,
there anybody- let's see.
that's understandable. I just, if it sounds like you guys are moving with 2, that would make a majority of the parents happy about that, because it's not what we want. It's not what we signed up for when we moved to Baxter.
Right, like, and we all understand that, we really do. So. Okay, is there any other, or are you the spokesman? Or do you know if there's others? You're the
I
only.
have no idea if anybody else is planning to, so they
Okay.
may.
Okay, I'm gonna hit lower hand, but I've never done this before, so
Oh, that's fine.
I'm gonna try and hang up on you, but we'll see how it goes. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. Last chance.
Anybody else for public forum? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is our business items. Building project update. I guess I've talked to Dale several times. They're moving along. I think they got the outdoor steps report just a couple days ago. They're doing sheetrock. I think the first part that was sheetrock, they have painters moving in on that. So there's quite a bit of interior work being done. They put the storm sewer through the east parking lot to get it ready for paving. So I think everything's on schedule as much as it can be with that. So everything seems to be working pretty good. So any board members have any questions on the building project? Okay. Also under the building project is the general obligation bond, series 2020. I think that was just bid today. Julie, if you want to speak to that.
Yep, I will. So we had, I sent out 16 requests for bond bids for our final 225,000 general obligation school bonds. So happened that the COVID-19 pandemic happened just shortly after that. And with the volatility of the market and the environment right now, the majority of those banks they're just laying low. They're just kind of hanging tight to see how the market plays out and how the economy plays out before they decide if they want to bid anymore for bond issuances. Having said that, we did get 2, one from State Savings Bank, who is our current depository for the district. And we also got one from Exchange State Bank in Collins. And they were decent rates. They, once again, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they probably increased a little bit more than what they normally would have. But they still weren't that bad. So depending on which year you went or which year you're looking at, the 5-year general obligation school bonds for Exchange State Bank went from a 3.2 to a 3.7, and State Savings Bank went from a 2.625 to a 3.1. So that makes State Savings Bank the lower of the 2. And so it would be the superintendent's and my recommendation, as well as Piper Jaffray, to go the low bid, which is what we're going to approve for the in the resolution and the next action item, to go with State Savings Bank.
Do any board members have any questions on that?
No.
Looks good.
Guess I'd add, it's nice to see that our local bank
Mhm.
put a bid in on that and was actually had the best rate for us, so.
Yep, I actually hadn't heard from them. I sent these out on March 24th, and then sort of everything fell apart shortly after that. And I hadn't heard from them, so I sent them a reminder yesterday, and I'm glad that I did, because they had said that they're a little bit out of balance with the way they're doing their day-to-day business. And so then they came back with us first thing this morning with the bid. So I was glad they did.
So the next item is to adopt a resolution directing the sale to the lowest bidder, and that lowest bidder is State Savings Bank. So do we have a motion to adopt the resolution to direct the sale to the lowest bidder of State Savings Bank?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We need to do roll call on that, Julie?
Yeah, who was the second? Was it
It
Kim?
was Debbie, I think. Was that you, Debbie?
Kim.
Oh, it was Kim.
Yes, roll call vote is Corey Robinson,
Yes.
Debbie Meyer,
Yes.
Colette Kunkel,
Yes.
Kim Ticky,
Yes.
John Northrup.
Yes.
Thank you.
A resolution's adopted to sell the bond to the lowest bidder of State Savings Bank. I see there's a bullet point on here, possible to delay.
Yeah.
That's an email or phone conversation
Yeah.
from Story Construction.
I visited with Jamie. He called me a couple days ago, and he just was wanting us to know that if the governor were to put a shelter-in-place order out, it could impact. He said he doesn't even know for sure that would impact construction, but it might. And so if it did, it could then delay the project, and it could also incur a little bit more expense because then we would keep Dale on longer. And he said, as of right now, just with everything, they're probably about 3 weeks behind where they originally thought they would be. So instead of end of May, now it's more like middle to end of June. And then I also heard from Natalie, our Workspace, our interior designers. And she hasn't heard anything official, but one of the companies that is building a lot of our furniture had like a pretty major shutdown with some sick employees. And so there could be a delay in a little bit of the furniture, but she hadn't heard. This was probably 2 weeks ago, maybe, when she talked to me, and she hasn't had any updates since then. But just know that this corona is impacting the timeline of things. So just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
I know Story, when I've gone in, they have all the workers wearing masks and they have hand sanitizing stations set up. And so they're doing, I think, what they can to.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this. You got people wanting to.
Oh.
We discussed this, I think, in the previous meeting where they were, I think I did, where they have sort of shelter in place already with their contractors and Story Construction's employees. So, generally a contractor or subcontractor might work here for a while and then go to other job sites. Well, they've shut that down. So really the contractors and subcontractors that are here are staying here. They're not, moving around to different job sites. So I think that was a good move on their part.
Mm-hmm.
Any other conversation with board members on the building project?
Not really. I haven't actually been out there. I was quarantined till just this week. I was kind of excited for the board meeting to get out of the house. But it looks like, from the pictures I've seen, it's coming along. So
There is one spot where Dale pointed out where the sidewalk along the street that turns and comes back for the ramp. There's a pretty good change in elevation there, and it really wasn't addressed in the plans what to do with that. It's probably too much to sod it and be able to keep it in place. So he suggested some sort of a retaining wall
okay.
there. I've got free access to free retaining wall blocks. So, and Dale said that Story Construction would donate
The labor.
well, not the labor, but a dump truck load of rocks for it.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to work on it, maybe get a couple other community members to help me out. It's not a big project, but so. Okay, we'll move on to principals reports. Jason, if he's available, if he could go first.
Jason, you want to go first?
Sure. So, wow, I don't know really what to report, so I will just say that we're trying to understand this whole idea of education as it looks in this modern day world. And I think our teachers are absolutely doing a great job. We meet as a staff regularly every week. They're meeting as teachers with their partners, lots of communication home, really trying to make the absolute best out of this situation. So I'm sure Rob would chime in, just being able to see kids the other day at the parade was pretty awesome. All of our teachers and enjoyed that. But then more than that, I was many community members reaching out to me and thanking us for that. But that wasn't really, thanks wasn't really what we needed. It was just more trying to just see our kids and see our families again. So that was really good. But we spend a lot of time just making sure everybody's mentally doing okay during this. I think that's really important. And I don't know what else to say, Rob. You can definitely jump in here. We talked about piggybacking this a little bit.
Yeah. Since the last time we talked, when Michaelin was out, we did those daily updates, which I think was good just to start the whole thing. Everybody was really unsure what was going on. We were unsure what was going on. But since we've kind of gotten the extra, we're going to be out for a while. Like Jason said, we're meeting every Monday morning at 8 with our entire staff on Zoom. We actually met twice a week for the first 2 weeks. Now we're going to PLCs. Dennis has been really active with staff, still doing his coaching, meeting with each teacher. Lots of communication. We're starting to gather data on how many kids are responding to teachers by Zoom or by Google Classroom or having some sort of meeting. And that includes book clubs and sports teams meetings. And we've had a lot of that too. What we're seeing as the kids are getting older, we're getting less and less contact and involvement. Our by every grade. So our 6th grade is our best grade. I think we're truly missing 4 or 5 kids. And then it bumps up a few kids every grade. Travis and I are reaching out to those families, finding out what the issue is. Michael and Josh sent out an email getting data on survey data on who has devices, which we know at 612, but who has adequate internet access, trying to find that out. We're just starting to brainstorm some plans for the kids that don't, may include packets. Just read some stuff today from Josh and Michaelin and whoever else about maybe some hard drives and things we can do over that nature. So we're trying to stay as in touch as we can. A couple other things. One is the kids that were failing before March 13th, told by the state that we can't make that up unless it's a credit recovery situation. So Travis and I have just worked with teachers to move those kids into a credit recovery. We're pass fail across the board on everybody 612. Unless it's a DMAC dual credit class, then it's still pass fail, but on a different level. And that would include Mr. Frowine's classes and Miss Applegate's high school juniors and seniors in English. So talking to Travis today, we think we've cut that fail list in about half in a week. We feel pretty confident we're going to keep cutting it, except for the kids that were probably destined to maybe not receive credit or fail anyway. And they're just not being in touch with us. So really stressing to finish up that teachers contact parents as well as students. Doesn't really matter if they're 12 or 17. We want the parents to know what we're expecting them to get back turned in. We're moving forward now with some new learnings and new standards. We need those kids to stay engaged and involved the best we can. So pretty proud of our teachers right now. Like Jason said, I think I've came the full circle of let's hammer it hard to then let's back way off and make sure our teachers are being taken care of. It's pretty stressful for them. They're trying to handle their families and their students and everything else. Now we're just trying to find a happy medium of what we can expect teachers to do in this craziness and crisis, and then also still meet the needs of our students. But I've had nothing but positive feedback from many people on here right now and so many others that have reached out over the last month. So I feel like, at least in the community, they feel like we're giving a great effort and trying the best we can.
I would add, we opened back up the Chromebook checkout for elementary and opened it up for the whole elementary. So I think initially when we did 3-5, it was kind of early in this, and I think some parents were kind of like, yeah, we can get by without our computers for a while. And we had about 26 students check out computers, and we opened that back up, like I said, but this time for the whole K-5. And I'm pretty sure that right now we're sitting somewhere around 120 total devices being checked out. So a lot of parents taking advantage of this, knowing that, that the devices that they had or didn't have at home, now is the time they can, do some of that work as well. And so it was really good to get those parents reaching out to us. We tried to hand some out today. We probably only handed out about 20 of those. So I imagine our Friday handout time will be pretty loaded getting those out. But yeah, just a lot of communicating between our teachers and our parents, and trying to keep as much normal activities as they can, and just staying in good relationships with our students. But it's not a perfect situation in any way. I mean, I multiple times today had conversations with different people, just how it looks and how you're giving kids feedback and just all the different things. I mean, it's just right when you think you might have something figured out, another obstacle gets in the way. But
at this time, Jason, do all the elementary grades have online content available for the students then, or?
Absolutely. Every one of our teachers has their office hours. They have their Zoom times with kids that they set up above and beyond those. They're reaching out through all different, their class Facebook pages with work. They're trying to get as much out there digitally as they can into the hands of parents. But then we also have a whole nother group that are getting physical packets out to kids. And, just because not all of our kids have the internet, we're sitting, I think it's roughly around 20%, I think, of our population that's responded to our survey. I mean, I can say everybody in the elementary school except for one student has an email on file, parent-wise is what I mean. Every parent has an email on file. So we emailed out a survey to the parents. But as a district, we're sitting around 20% that don't believe that they have adequate internet service to do the work. So they're sitting on hotspots that are just slow and lagging. There's too many people in the house. Parents are working from home and they're on their computers all day long, and the internet's not reliable because of, being out in the country and just not having a great speed, great, I don't know all the magic of the internet, but anyway, all the great things that they need to have to make it work. It's just, so what do you do with those 20%? So, and we have had some responses. I think it's important to know that we've had some responses, and I think this is really great. On some level, some parents are like, we're taking this time as parents to homeschool our kids and kind of do it. We're going to kind of borrow some of your stuff, but we're also not going to do all this online stuff. There are parents that believe that screen time should be limited. And, one reached right out to me and said, I know your teachers want us to do all this stuff online, but we limit screen time, so we're going to continue to limit it. And okay, the state can't require us to, or we can't require you to do this work. So I understand. So it's a unique situation for sure.
So do those parents, do you try to get a packet out to those kids then, or?
Yep, teachers are trying every which way they can to get that information. So I know, like, on the back door of the school, there's a box with some teachers' stuff sitting in it where parents today came to pick up their Chromebooks, and then they drove around the other side of the school and picked up their packet of stuff that the teacher had left for them. So we're trying to get it out there any way we can.
Good.
I wondered about, I don't know how well it'll work, but reaching out to PC Partner to see if they had any sort of if they could had hotspots or could set up some like regional Wi-Fi areas. I don't know how that might look or work, but I thought, well, it might not be worth it. It might be worth a shot just to see if they can help. Probably most of them probably rural, so I don't know how that would work, but thought, well, it might be an idea.
A lot of companies have done that, and we had PC Partner out at our house, like for us personally, because when this all first started, we needed better internet than what we had, with me being working from home and then our son home from college and one in high school. And so one thing they talked about is that people have to have a home phone for them to be able to turn it up to faster, or they have to be able to get into their house and like physically put the wires in or something like that. So it's not quite as easy as like Verizon or something like. I know it's different than like just a normal hotspot, because I reached out to them right away when this first happened, but we could certainly reach out again and see if there's more options. Because I do know that I've seen like things from like T-Mobile, and a lot of places have said that they're not gonna charge you more if you go over your usual internet, like on your hotspot and stuff, just because of the unique situation that we're in. But I think there's also like some of these rural places, like even where I live, there's not a lot of options for great service other than PartnerCom.
I don't know if we've decided on voluntary. I think that's coming up, or what our path is. We have to understand, and I've got some teachers that are worked up. If it's voluntary, we're going to have kids and parents. I mean, we struggle with that when we're in seat. It's going to be worse. There's just kids that are not going to do what they need to do over the next 6 weeks. And all we can do is make sure we've exhausted every avenue we can. Don't be frustrated with them. Handle the ones you're getting, give feedback to the ones who are reaching out, as long as we're doing our due diligence. But there's going to be a lot of kids where I would tell you 40% have not done anything. That's pretty generic, not solid data trying to gather it. That's a lot of kids are doing nothing, especially 9-12.
Any other board members have questions for one of the principals?
No questions, just from an elementary perspective, I think the teachers are doing a great job with getting information out and sending tons of resources. I mean, as a parent, I feel a little overwhelmed with all the stuff, information overload that we're getting, which is a really great problem. So the teachers reaching out by Zoom, and Mrs. Horton with her dog's birthday party today online was a great way for the kids to connect and see each other. So I appreciate all the teachers are doing with this.
Any other board members have questions, comments?
I would echo middle school, high school teachers as well are doing great. There is a lack of participation for sure from students that I've noticed just from my own kids watching them on their Zoom. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle, but I think the staff is doing a great job. So thanks to them.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. And that's a supplemental board policy for the COVID-19. It will be in effect from April 1st to December 31st, 2020. And it addresses the legal requirements of emergency paid sick leave for employees to protect students, employees, and community members. So Julie, do you have anything to add to that?
No, this was just a recommendation from our legal counsel, and it just addresses anything that may be in a gray area when it comes time, to something were to happen with somebody in our district getting sick or something like that, and just how to address all that gray area that you wouldn't normally have to address. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. And being that it's time sensitive here, when we approve it, we will waive the second hearing or second reading of it, and so we can approve it tonight. So Anybody have any questions on that?
Oh,
Nope.
Do we have a motion to approve the supplemental board policy regarding the COVID-19?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Supplemental board policy regarding the COVID-19 is approved. Next item on the agenda is a resolution waiving required number of instructional hours due to the COVID-19. Michael, do you have anything on that? Was that something that was put out by the
Yeah,
state?
so the governor waived the 1,080 hour requirement up through April 30th. This one is actually through April 13th, but she's changing it to the 30th. We'll change this one. And then she's also said that she'll give us guidance at least 2 weeks ahead of April 30th, which would be next Thursday, as to what her next steps will be. So I don't know if she's going to do it in a couple week increments, or if she's going to go ahead and just send us back to school, or she's going to send us just call it over. We just don't know that yet. So this waives these days up through April 30th. And then depending on which option we go with, there's 3 paths, and we'll get to that later. But depending on which option we choose, then it'll depend on what hours we make up.
The board have any questions on this resolution? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the resolution? Resolution waiving the required number of instructional hours due to the COVID-19.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved, or the resolution's approved that it's waived the requirement of the number of instructional hours due to the COVID-19. Next item on the agenda is the 2020-2021 district budget. That's what we have started out tonight with the public hearing on that.
With what we proposed in the budget public hearing was that the tax rate would be at 17.479, which would round up to 17.48. And that is right in line, if not a penny or two less than it was last year. There still could be some additional fluctuation that comes from the state, not from us, even after we certify. And with this rate, that allows us our debt service to be up to 4.05, which will help us pay back our new debt that we have. And then it also allows us to put $225,000 into the management fund for our insurances and SU insurance breakdown and that kind of thing.
Do any board members have any questions on the budget for the upcoming year?
Doesn't look like.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the 2020-2021 district budget?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We need to do roll call on that. Okay. Okay, all in favor? Approval of the 2020-2021 district budget signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Budget's approved. The next item on the agenda is student registration fees for the upcoming year. Board members, I think you have what those are and also comparisons to other schools. It looks like we're going to hold them the same as what they have been last year. Anybody have any questions on those?
No,
Michael, do you have any comments, or Julie?
No.
I just know that you guys like to see where we fall, with our fees as compared to other districts around us. When I did reach out to the districts, they were just like, we haven't even talked about student fees. We're still in the midst of the COVID-19. But I think it's a general consensus with the financial environment that we're in. I didn't think it was a good idea for us to increase fees at this point.
I guess probably most other schools are going to do the
That's
same.
right.
so, yeah. Okay, do we have a motion to approve 2020-2021 student registration fees?
so moved. Sorry.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Student registration fees are approved for the upcoming year. Next item on the agenda is the participation in the IASB Safety Group Insurance Program. I see in the notes, this is like the first year in forever that we haven't gotten a dividend. They say why, Julie? Or?
There's been a lot of claims, is
Okay.
what they said. And so if I remember correctly as well, there may have been an error on their part in doing some of those dividends. And so they may have overpaid in the past a little bit. And so I think they're trying to recoup some of their costs.
I know in years past, we've kind of, it's like, how can they pay that much? So maybe they couldn't that much. And they're
Yeah, it was a
figuring
good,
it out.
time to change. So I would always look forward to it. But they gave me a warning before I was looking forward to it. So
What was it last year, Julie?
it was about last year. I think it was about 5,000. But previously, it's gone up to at least 11,000. And it just kind of kept lowering and lowering and lowering. And I think it's all dependent on those schools that are in that, what their claims are and their work comp claims are. And just, as a whole, I think there were just more claims recently. So hopefully it won't be that way forever.
Any other questions on that? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve our continued participation in the IASB Group Insurance Program? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Continued participation in the IASB Group Insurance Programs approved. Next item on the agenda is the Iowa School Finance Information Services. And that's just the annual membership, is that correct?
Yeah, and really that's pretty minimal, in my opinion, for
Yeah.
the services that we get from them. Michael and I each year go to the annual budget workshop, which helps us prepare our budget for the following year. And to me, being in front of Larry for a whole day is something that you don't really get. He's
Right.
really, he's a great resource.
And they
So-
also send weekly video updates with legislative
Webinars.
updates and webinars. And it is definitely worth whatever, $400 bucks.
Board members,
Not to mention, we can reach out to them whenever we want. Margaret Buckton is actually a lobbyist, and she's part owner of this ISPIS. But she used to be a Des Moines Public Schools school board member, and so she really does know the school financial side of things inside and out. And actually, she is who I went to when I asked for the resolution for the waiver of the hours. And it was a matter of an hour or so, and she had the resolution written up and sent back to me already. So, they're really pretty quick in responding as well.
board members have any questions on that?
Nope.
Hey, do we have a motion to approve our continued participation in the ISPIS membership?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion's approved to continue our participation in the ISPIS membership. Next item on the agenda is to approve seniors for graduation. Michael, I think we approve them,
Pending,
but
Pending.
pending they get all their
completion of
requirements.
their requirements.
Maybe Rob wants to speak to that. I don't know.
Rob, I'm gonna unmute you. Let's see. Oops. Okay, do you want to talk a little, anything about graduation or seniors?
No, I mean, obviously we know that seniors, if they were passing as of March 13th, they're going to be set to graduate. Talking to Travis about the seniors today, I would feel positively hesitant that they will all meet that. It's just going to be onto a couple of them to be able to get some things done between now and May. This is new and different, but if we were in session, I would feel pretty confident we're going to get everybody there. And if we don't, we continue to work with them through the summer. Now that we're standards, reference, or base grades, we can pick the pieces that they didn't get meet proficiency and work with them over the summer. So yeah, I mean, I would approve everybody at this point, but know that, as always, John knows if we have anybody, we just don't, we put in a certificate of attendance and hold it. So.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the 2020 seniors for graduation pending successful fulfillment of all their graduation requirements? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Motion's approved to approve the 2020 seniors for graduation pending fulfillment of all their graduation requirements. Next item on the agenda is personnel. Michael, if you want to speak to those.
The first bullet point or the,
Yeah, an employee.
okay, an employee has requested a private hearing with the board. So we will not be voting on the termination of that position at this time. We will set a date per board policy on a hearing with that employee and the board.
Looks like it has to be more than 20 days and less than 40 days. Julie, I think you spoke to a legal representative, and with the COVID-19, there may be requesting, or not requesting, but recommending that we maybe pick a date actually longer than 40 days in case school remains closed. Or
Yep, that's correct, because the private hearing has to be held with the majority of the board members, if not all, the superintendent, the board secretary, employee, and possibly the employee's representation. And so it has to be in person, and given the social distancing requirements right now, our legal counsel has recommended that we go request the hearing date to be longer than the 20 to 40 day window. In order for that to happen, it has to be agreeable to all parties. I have reached out to that employee, but that employee has not responded back to me yet. So would it be possible for you all to pick a date within the 20 to 40 days in case she prefers that, she or he, and then one that's after the 40 days in case they prefer that as well?
so within the 20 to 40 days, it looks like we're April 27th through May 17th. So we need to pick a date in there, and then another date after May 17th.
Julie, how many people, would that be greater than 10 people, all those that you just listed? I'm sorry, I wasn't keeping track of all that you said.
It could possibly be more than 10 people. I don't know if this employee has representation. I was asked that question today by our legal counsel, and I don't know the answer to that question. As I said, they haven't replied back to me. But assuming we would be really pretty close to that 10-person window. So you're talking about 5 board members and the superintendent and myself, and then the employee and their representation. And then if we possibly could have legal counsel here as well.
So 10.
So we could be getting to that limit. So
Could we,
Just
would,
need a quorum.
yeah, we wouldn't need all
we
5
wouldn't
board
need all-
members.
No.
So if
no,
we needed to
we
have
just
2 of
need a
you
majority,
step
so we
out.
would need 3 board members. I just know how you board members are, and you all prefer to be
Mhm.
in, present and in participation.
So does anybody have any dates they want to throw out, or dates that don't work for them?
My calendar's pretty open.
Same.
I don't have mine on me, but I'm sure it's probably pretty clear by now.
Could we possibly make it the week of the April 27th? If you prefer Wednesday, could we do the 29th?
That work for all of you? April 29th?
Yeah, what time are you thinking?
Well, you guys pick a time. Makes no difference to me, so.
Evening work best for everyone, like 6 o'clock again, or?
Yeah,
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first date is April 29th at 6 p.m. And then pick another date outside of the 40-day window, which would be after May 17th.
Can we do it before the board meeting? How long do they take?
I think we probably want to combine it. with the-
Okay.
But I'll just tell you this. So after we have that hearing, we would immediately go into an executive session. And then we would come out of the executive session, and then we would vote on whatever decision was made with that position. And I'm not sure,
When's our regular board meeting?
The
the
20th.
20th. And is Memorial Day on the 25th then?
Mhm.
Not that it may be going anywhere, but I don't know, if you take that into consideration.
It has to be after the 17th.
After the 17th. Yeah.
What about like 18th or 19th? Like Monday or Tuesday of that week?
That would work for me.
yeah,
That work for everybody?
yeah.
That be an okay date? Julie, do you think?
Well, I think it is for me, but I mean, I think their purpose of this was assuming that this is gonna go longer, so we wouldn't be able to be in person.
Mhm.
So that's just a couple days past the 17th, you know what I'm saying? So I don't
Do you
know if it
wanna
makes a difference or not.
Wait till after
Um,
Memorial Day? Like,
Well, that's
the-
what I want. I mean, I hate to go out that far, but generally speaking, we're technically supposed to be in 22nd.
22nd is the last day of school. Give it the last day of school.
So do you want to do the week of Memorial Day? How would you feel about that? You guys pick. It makes no difference to me. I would imagine we may end up moving it anyway, depending on what they decide. So maybe you just want to pick a date.
I guess I wouldn't mind having it done before like the end of the school year.
Okay. Well, then let's stay with the 18th, and we'll just go with that for now. Okay?
Okay.
At 6 o'clock.
Sounds good.
You.
Julie, did you, or Michaelin, did you ask our legal if there's any possibility to waive the in-person requirement if we're still social distancing and we would potentially have more than 10 people gathering? Is there a possibility we could do it via Zoom at all?
I don't have the answer to that question. I do our legal counsel, but as you can imagine, they're just inundated with the COVID-19, so they weren't real quick to get back to me.
Yeah.
But they were the ones that suggested that we pick, or recommended that we pick a day after the 4th. So I felt like it was a better idea if we were in person. But I'll clarify that and get back to you.
I think I'd read
Okay.
it came out that it said face-to-face. Is that in the board policy? It's in the policy.
Was it board policy?
I think so.
Or was it what I provided you maybe also?
What you provided us.
Okay, I'm gonna. Is it says face-to-face and that's what we have to do.
Say that again, Julie. If board policy says it has to be in person, then we have to be in person.
Yeah, and it's not even, yes, but, let's see what it says here. Participants at the private hearing must include at least a majority who will sit as a hearing panel to hear the recommendation of the superintendent and any cross-examination presentation which may be made by the employee. And then there will have to be a roll call vote. Let's see where it says.
Well, I thought it was on your record, what you gave to us.
Okay.
And so I thought maybe it was what they told you. But
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
Somewhere I think I
Yeah,
read that.
same
but
here, yeah.
Yeah, and it may say that. I mean, I've got all kinds of these documents here, so I may just not have the right one pulled up yet.
I wonder if there's any like wiggle room with all this
Right.
this stuff going on. I mean, they've
So they were, as you remember, when we were trying to serve the notice, we struggled with serving the notice because you have to do it in person or by certified mail. And so when it says in person or by certified mail, that does not mean email and they can reply to it, even though that's what we got. I mean, so there was no wiggle room with that. I even contacted our lawyers and they're like, no, we don't want that. It says in person or by certified mail. And so there was just very little wiggle room. So I would imagine that they wanted, because
in person.
yeah, because then after the hearing, we have to go into closed session, and then we have to come out of closed session, and then we have to go into open session, and then we need to have a vote, and then we need to have a roll call vote. So,
I think we just better plan on, it'll be in person.
yeah, that's my recommendation. But I can clarify that with our council.
Any other questions or discussion on that? Looks like we have 2 dates we came up with, so I think we're
Thank you.
good on that. Michaelin, looks like we have a resignation special ed teacher. You want to
Yeah.
speak to that?
Sarah Fricky has resigned her position as special ed teacher and as head middle school volleyball coach, assistant varsity girls basketball coach, and head middle school softball coach. Will she still coach this?
Yes.
She'll still coach
Yes,
this spring,
is for
this
the
summer.
2021.
But then after that, she'll be done. And then also, do you want the other resignation as well?
Yeah.
And then Joe Morton as head volleyball coach.
Any questions on that from board members?
Only question I had is about softball. Was Miss Heimer also the middle school? Oh, but she was going to coach this year as well, right?
Yeah, pending
Right.
suitable replacement.
Like, didn't we hire a replacement? Was it Mrs. Boley?
I think.
Or is that
was
high
the
school?
other. I think
Oh,
that was-
okay,
yeah.
never mind.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the resignations as presented. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resignations are approved as submitted. Next item. Doesn't look like we have any this month. Facilities, grounds, and transportation is the next item on the agenda. And Michael, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. And Julia, you might have to help me if you know anything about this. I know Pam, our mower was worn out, and so there was the question of fixing it, trading it in, or just hiring someone to do our mowing.
And we kind of traded, I think, every 2
Yeah.
years. We were kind of in a
So,
schedule. To,
yeah, if you remember, we actually had 2 mowers and we were doing them like every other year, every other one. Well, then we decided, well, that's silly to have mowers.
Just one,
when
never
we only
got
had one
used
mower.
one,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
So we went down to 1 mower, and then we waited an extra year or so to buy a mower. And so if you clicked on the bid option there from Johnson Brothers, I'm really quite shocked that he gave us what he did give us, because the way he had prefaced it was that it was in bad shape. And if you look and see what he says there, it is in bad shape. So when he came through with a final cost of a new mower at $4,869, I was pleasantly surprised. And I did double check. It's a 2018 Snapper mower, the same kind that we have, and it has 0 hours on it. So I thought, if it's a 2018, are we talking about a used one? Because then that would make sense why the price is what it is.
It probably helped on the price that it was a holdover, but
Yeah.
still, yeah.
But it's still brand
Because
new.
my memory's right, it was back when we were trading it was like 4,000.
Yeah, it was about
then,
there. Yeah. Yeah, so I was really pleasantly surprised, and there's still a warranty in place, and just it's a brand new mower. So and yeah, so then we also had Chad Birkenholtz bid it for us, and that's what he came back with, and so we just so I just did similar calculation on how he calculated hours and that, and even if we do buy this and we pay somebody to mow, we're still well on the good
Mhm.
side of it. We also, Pam also went to, I think it was Angie's List, and got a quote there for our area. And it was like 48,000, I believe, is what that guy, but then he backed it off because of things that were happening right now, the COVID-19 and all that. He backed it off to about, but it's still 24,000. I mean, so I don't feel like either one of them are way off the mark. It's just that we're able to do it in-house cheaper.
Yeah.
We have somebody in mind that can do that then, or is gonna mow.
What is it?
He said, does she have someone in mind who can mow?
Yes.
She does, doesn't
Yes,
she?
we do.
Yes. Pam has a plan.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the mower?
I actually included the capital assets plan there just for your reference, because we annually hold money out for a new mower. So we're okay if you were concerned about what we were paying, how we were paying for it or whatever, then we're okay. And the same thing with the West Gym and the recoding on the West Gym.
Oh, yeah, on that West Gym, didn't we, I thought we just, remember the insurance, remember it got flooded? And I thought was that 2 years ago or was that last year?
I think it was last winter, not this past one, but the one before.
Right.
But and so that was a coat, but they just want us to get another one on it. So
Like a
that's went a
second.
whole
So they
year.
only did one then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it went a whole year with just that one coat, and they don't feel like it can go another year. Now, once we get a couple coats on it, then we
Okay,
can start
okay.
going back to the every other year.
Okay. I think we'll move back to the mower.
Sorry.
Well, no, that's fine. Because it's all under capital assets, but just all it's fresh on my mind. Do we have a motion to approve the trading of our existing mower and to purchase a new one.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion's approved to purchase a new mower. Then on the West Gym coating, that looks like $4,950. And that you said, Julie, was in the capital asset plan anyway, so. Any questions or discussion on that? We have a motion to approve the West Gym recoat.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved to recoat the West Gym for this summer. Maybe if we want to take a look at that capital asset plan, if we have other summer projects that we need to talk about.
I don't know if we're at talking point yet with those. If you want to click on that though, maybe you can just give us some guidance.
I know I'd had a conversation with Pam probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. She wanted, once they got the building clean, kind of what's our next step? And I guess I encouraged her at that point to look at some of the summer projects that they had outside, hopefully, trimming trees, sports rec complex, that sort of thing. Yeah. And to start on those. And
now that you approved the floors, I think depending on what they come back with, I don't know if she can get done between now and April 30th or not, but I kind of hate for them to do it now in case we do come back. But I do think that she'll move that up sooner. She asked me to let her know as ASAP so that they could go ahead and get started on those summer project things. If you would take a look-see on that facility grounds improvement plan tab, which is the second tab, and then scroll down and then scroll over. Your summer projects, FY21 and summer 20. You'll see that I put the lawnmower amount in there and then that West Gym recoat in there. And so those are really the only 2 things that for the summer project that you've approved. While the paint is on there, you don't normally approve that. That's a given that there's some paint done in the year, and so we just go off of the schedule. But those other things, Pam just, I think, grabbed everything that was in her mind and put it on there. And so, including that snow pusher for skid loader and the repair of the front sign, I took the liberty of just striking through those because I felt with that repair front sign, we've gotten bids on those before, and that's a pretty good chunk of change, and I just don't know that that's where you would want to spend or what money we do have right now for that. But I wasn't sure where you all fell on the rest of that stuff.
Did we just do that by the ag building, kind of regrading that a little bit just like 2-3 years ago to prevent the water from flowing into the building?
Between the bus barn and the ag building, trying to divert the water or that, and then they poured that bit of concrete out in front of the ag building, between the ag building and the street. But I think I remember them talking about something about the sidewalk, maybe.
Is it like
So-
fill
Yeah,
up
the
with
sidewalk
ice?
that's lower.
The sidewalk, yeah.
So then it's and it's right there on the north side in the shade, and so it's like a sheet of ice in the wintertime.
It doesn't seem that hard to do.
To me, I guess carrying on with that conversation I had with Pam, is I encourage her to do some of those projects that if they have the time to do it now, and that hopefully we won't maybe have to hire as much summer help if they could do it themselves. So I guess looking at that, that's something with the skid loader and that we could probably do ourselves type scenario if we just need to scrape the sod back and replant grass seed or whatever. Another project I thought of is east of the music room there where that water comes
Yeah.
under the thing, under the parking of the neighbor. That I see somebody's got a tile on that now, but I think we just need to dig down. There's an intake there, storm sewer intake. We just need to, that's something that I could help them out with, or I think that's something we could do on our own probably without having to hire that. So just projects like that. I know Story Construction, they'd mentioned that Kit's Courtyard, some of those trees are getting a little bit unruly. They need a good trimming. Rich, I mean, that's what he went to college for. The school playground, some of those trees could probably use trimming. Sports complex. So I guess I'm open, but I think we just need to come up with ideas to give to Pam. It's like, hey, before we've been running ourselves ragged, never have time. Maybe now's the time we do have a little extra time to do some of those outdoor tree trimming projects, what have you. So I guess if any board members have things that they've thought of too, certainly get that to
Just
Michael,
email me and
she
then I can pass them on
she
to
can get
Pam.
that to Pam, so.
What's the shop building bathroom? What's that about?
Well, Pam showed that to me last year. There's actually 2 old restrooms in there that eventually we probably need to do something with. I don't know, that's something that maybe even, I don't know if the ag teacher, what his building skills, I know they build a little building outside. I don't know if that's something they could take on as a project or not, but it is, both those bathrooms are old and need attention, I guess I would say.
So like to replace the toilets and the sinks? Or
I mean, they're
or
not
what exactly?
ADA compliant.
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
know one of them isn't ADA compliant for sure. So,
Yeah, they're just pretty run down. I've only been out there and they showed me it like one time and they're pretty run down. But that might be a project that the ag class could do. I don't know if they have those skills or
that's
not.
something
But
that, we could have that conversation maybe with
Mhm.
the ag instructor to see if we bought the materials, if that's something they class.
Looks like the bricks might need some attention though, huh? In the front.
She said
Yeah.
It was like on the corner, like down by the wellness.
she says by the fitness center, there's some bricks that need tuck pointing or something, she said.
I don't think she has any quotes for that, but I don't think it was a big job.
Some of those projects like the ag building, John, you were talking about, and the water diversion by Hoskins House, if Troy and I could help with some of those projects too. Just throwing that out there. I'm volunteering Troy, but because we've talked about that before.
I'll volunteer Trent too.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion on
So do you
the
want
summer
to do
projects?
the brick? Do you want to do that?
Well, let's
Or
get
some
Have her get
bids?
some quotes.
Yeah, get some bids and see what all that she's, I guess I haven't noticed it myself yet, but if she could kind of describe it or give us get a couple quotes.
And then she wants that bus barn drive tiling to the big drain to prevent washout. Is that something you guys feel like you could do yourself or no?
I guess I'd like to see what,
Because I think that's what Corey was talking about. When we did it a few years ago.
I thought what we did was to try to alleviate that.
Yeah, so I don't know if it needs to be done
hasn't
again,
worked or
or-
what,
Yeah.
maybe we need to have Pam,
Pictures or something.
yeah, give us a little,
Or we could probably even have her come next month and
right, yeah. If she
wants and just explain.
what they're looking at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Really don't remember that. Have her come. Okay.
Any other questions, discussion on the summer projects?
How do you feel about the gravel and the rock at the school complex? Replacement. That's a few $1,000s.
Just needing more gravel and rock out in these different places.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get you that figure here real fast.
Had been, we're doing a couple of those every year, but
Yeah.
I don't know what the school
Well, I think there's just the bus barn.
over the bus barn.
It's our new model me, isn't it?
Right.
I think she's-
About the bus barn.
One thing we might want to look at, I think, for the parking, if they're looking at the parking lot out at the rec complex there's Metro Waste Authority East has, they take shingles in and recycle them, grind them up, and you can haul it out, and it makes a good, if you got a good base like we do out there, if they're just looking to put a top coat on it or whatever, it's black material. I mean, we can hire Dave Huffaker, whoever they haul some of that. That might be cheaper than rock. For that situation, might make a good top. Check into that.
So it looks like when we do the bus barn and the complex at the same time, it's just a hair over $1,000. So walk at the bus barn is like 800, and then gravel sports complex is 541. These are different years, so I'm sure we have to adjust the prices, but it looks like when we do it together, we get a better deal.
Yeah, I guess that's something that maybe Pam could, I guess I haven't noticed. I thought it looked pretty good around the bus barn, but maybe it has some attention. Or that's, if they're just trying to get in the rotation, every year, bring a load in or whatever, because it does disappear over time. So
You want to sit on that for now?
I don't. Yay. Anything else we need to look at on the capital asset plan, Julie?
Nope.
As far as buses and that, we're not planning to do anything this year.
No, no.
Right.
And I think I said, maybe ask you your thoughts about pushing that out one more
1 year, yeah.
Um,
I think I remember that conversation. I think we agreed that was a good idea.
Okay, yeah. So, transportation placement, because I think we're scheduled actually for next year. So I would like to just delay it 1 more year and push it on out if I can. Somebody was telling me, I can't remember now who, but a lot of them are going to just straight gas buses now as opposed to diesel.
Yeah, I had that conversation.
Okay,
with
okay, I
down
can't
at the-
remember.
Yeah,
So maybe, if we, wait another year, that gets all worked out, and maybe that'll help price it as well.
okay. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's report.
Okay. Just want to start out by, I don't know if we've done this, I don't remember last month or not, but we want to give a thank you to Spectrum Lighting. They were super generous. Jen Robinson contacted us and donated a bunch of really nice teacher desks. So we have those, several teachers, and have those in their rooms. There's one in the office, some really nice chairs. So we're very thankful for that. And then another easy one is just, I was contacted by the mayor, and she wanted to know if we still plan on selling bricks at Fun Days. And if so, how much? And I told her I would get back to her after the meeting tonight, because I think, are they at your house, John, or you have
Yeah.
them piled somewhere?
I think there's about 300 or 350 of them.
Okay.
So I know we talked with the board about if we wanted to do it as a school or if we wanted to get it to a booster club and let them do it, or I guess that's a conversation we could have tonight. I guess if we did it as a school, we'd probably turn around and put the money towards the project. So,
I don't think we have any landscaping.
no, that's what Dale actually mentioned to me the other day. It's like, hey, you got a plan, but there's not much landscaping. Because he talked about on the north side of the elementary there, how when they regrade for the sidewalk and on the new part, he's like, I think we're gonna go on down because right now the grade kind of lets water move back towards the building. We need to build that up a little bit to get it back towards the sidewalk. So, and that was conversations like, yeah, there's really no grading plan. Do it, make it right. So yeah, maybe that's a good idea. We wanted to sell them as a school. We could stay.
For the project. $20? Or does that seem,
$6,000.
that seem like a fair, is everybody good with $20?
Yep.
Good.
And then,
And if you buy two, you can get.
Always thinking, Julie.
do 2 for $50. And then Jen also asked me about tours of the building. And I said, well, that all depends on if it's done. And if it's done, we can open it up and either give tours or let people just wander around. But I just said it all depends. Like, we just can't answer that yet for sure. But if it's done, we will be glad to have people in here because it's a big fun days with it being the 150th anniversary of Baxter. So they're trying to make it be a really big deal. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that on. I really just need some clarification on the bricks. I thought we had some, but I didn't know how many.
I'd say if on the off chance that the building isn't done, we could still set up a spot to sell bricks. during
For
fun
sure,
days.
for sure, we could do that. So, okay.
So sorry, Michaelin, the bricks will be for sale during fun days or when?
Yeah, I think during fun days, or
Okay.
probably
That'd be a good kickoff
that could be a
time.
kickoff, and then after that, we could sell them probably at home football and volleyball games,
Okay.
back to school night, that kind of stuff. I guess until they're gone.
Okay, thanks.
First 300 customers or so. First come, first serve. They'll be lining up at fun days. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was just our internet survey, and then leading into our voluntary versus required learning. We need to make a decision, and I need to input that into the Department of Ed website before Friday. So Jason and Rob and I, and then the leadership team sat down and talked through just a million things in the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that we're really concerned about is our internet access. I know a lot of kids have it, but we have a good portion, roughly, actually I can click on the link right now. About 86% of our kids have internet access at home, but of those kids, so then the other question is, if you have internet access at home, is it limited or unlimited? And about 20% of those kids that do have internet, it's on a limited basis. So, we have a good portion, almost, 1 out of every 4 or 5 of our kids that does not have reliable internet access. So we just really talked through how could we have required online school, knowing that nearly 20%, 25% of our kids don't have online access. So our recommendation would be to go to voluntary learning. And there's 3 pathways. You can do required learning, you can do voluntary learning, or you can do no school at all. If you do no school at all, that's fine, but you have to make up all those hours or days. If you do required online or some kind of required learning or voluntary learning, both of those count as school and will not have to be made up per the governor's recommendations. So we have a pretty, I think, solid plan, pretty robust offerings. You know, we've heard a lot from parents and kids, and, you know, we're trying our best, and our teachers are doing a heck of a job trying to reach kids. But with the voluntary, we aren't held to the same standard as if we had the required learning. If we had required learning, we would have to also make sure that we were meeting every child that has a 504, every child that has an IEP. We would have to find a way to meet their individualized instruction. It would be overwhelming for a small district like us to meet that. And just as a state in general, I'm in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we meet with the Heartland superintendents on a Zoom meeting. And then every Tuesday and Thursday, there's a Zoom meeting with the Department of Ed, and then, you know, the governor's on every day. And from just a kind of rough estimate, about 80% of the districts are going with voluntary. As far as I know, no one's doing the no school at all option. And then a few are doing the required, and you can have a hybrid. Some are requiring just their high school and then voluntary for their elementary. But then if you do that, that's great. But then you're required to meet all the laws of having free access to education for all the students. So going with the voluntary option, we can still, you know, reach out to kids, and we will be required with that option to give feedback. So if kids hand stuff in, teachers, they're not necessarily grading it and putting it in the grade book, but they have, if kids hand stuff in, teachers are going to look at it and give them feedback on it. And so as much as parents and kids want to engage in it, they can, but we also have to be cognizant that we have kids who are now babysitting little siblings. We have parents who are at home trying to work. It's a crazy time. And so my recommendation to the board would be to go with the voluntary learning options. So I don't know if we need to vote on that, or if you guys or just want to give me any feedback. Anybody have any comment?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, like the AP courses, those will be voluntary, required.
The college ones, the ones that the
Yeah, that's correct.
credit, like through DMAC. So Miss Applegate and Mr. Frowine, it's a little bit different with those classes because they're employed by DMAC for those classes, and so they're going to be able to get still getting credit for those. So it's just a bit different than the rest of them. But the ones that are just offered by Baxter, oh, Rob's got his hand raised. Hold on. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, just so the board knows, we have some students in both of those. Well, I think there's 4 classes that have chosen not to do it for DMAC credit. So they can just continue on with their pass grade for Baxter credit, but they will not receive DMAC credit. And we've had some students that have said, I don't want to do the required learning that DMAC is having me do the last 8 weeks. So just give me my pass and I'll get my Baxter credit, just so people are clear on that.
And also the regents, or actually all the schools, the colleges and universities in Iowa have changed their requirements. And so they're now accepting pass-fail grades. So that won't impact our kids. They call it hold harmless. They don't want to have the kids hurt by any of this. So it's just going to not hurt them that they're having a pass-fail grade. So that's our recommendation.
I'd agree, but like Rob was saying earlier, you know, the amount of kids that aren't taking advantage of it, I guess we could say. How do we get that to a lower number? You know, maybe, you know, there's probably going to be kids that probably won't try as hard, or, you know, maybe it's just this first few weeks they're like, hey, no school, but hopefully they kind of start coming around and doing more. But how do we try to get those kids more engaged? You know, is it more Zoom meetings like this? Is it just, I don't know, because that number is scary that Robin said. So
It is, and
Tough.
we're all, there's constant Zoom meetings for administrators and teachers trying to figure out how to get kids more engaged, and we're trying to look at ways of like, okay, even one of the conversations we had today was, okay, if kids don't have internet access, is there a way that we could put everything that they need onto a flash drive and then get it to them so they can still access the same learning opportunities that the kids that have Wi-Fi access. So, I mean, everyone is just kind of brainstorming how else can we do this, and teachers are just keep reaching out, and there's been, like as a parent, I've gotten emails, and one of the things we even talked about, Rob talked about at his staff meeting on Monday, was be sure you CC the parents in the emails. And so then as a mom, I got, I don't know, 3 or so emails from Trice's teachers. And so then I was able to say, hey, what about, don't forget you have a Zoom meeting at, Mr. Amadeo's class has one and Mr. Wagner has one. And so then as parents, if we know when the times are, we can also kind of force the issue a little bit more with them. Because even before this week, I hadn't paid super close attention because the teachers were doing a great job of emailing the kids. But now that they're emailing the parents too, that I don't know if they've seen a greater increase, but I know even just me as a mom has been like holding my kids' feet to the fire a little bit more. So, I mean, we're just all just kind of racking our brains, and there's just a lot of district to district, everybody's reaching out to each other, asking questions, and how are you doing it? And Mr. Russell has been a great asset to us. He has reached out to a lot of his curriculum colleagues, really helping out with that. So, I mean, we've just, nobody really knows the right answer, but we're all trying to figure it out.
What about the kids with the IEPs? I mean, that has to be another whole set of problems. I mean, are they?
Yeah.
They obviously need.
Right. And so their special ed teachers, or our special ed teachers, are still reaching out to those kids. I know I've seen an email every week that like Mrs. Ean has a group Zoom meeting with her students, and I'm sure the other ones do too. I just have seen hers. So she reaches out to them, and they're meeting up with their students. And then also I know like Jason has talked about with their PLCs, when the 2 classroom teachers collaborate for their PLC time, he's going to have Mrs. Travis and Mrs. Fricky and Mrs. Russell all in on those meetings, so they can all talk and figure out, okay, what do those kids need and how are we going to make sure that they're able to access the curriculum. So the teachers themselves are working together, trying to make sure that they can reach all the kids. So it's just, we're just all trying. It is. But I mean, everyone, and the thing it's scary, but on the other hand, everyone in the state's in the same boat. So in August, yeah, really, everyone in the country. So when we come back to school in August, knock on wood, everyone's in the same boat. And, maybe if there's any luck, this is only until April 30th. As of right now, it's just till April 30th. And then if we get to come back to school, we'll go back to business as usual. I think it's still pass fail through the end of the semester, but at least we'd be in the same building again together. So yeah, it's just it's a hard time, but we're trying.
So as a board, is everybody okay with the voluntary learning option?
Yes.
Yes. Rob, were you trying to raise your hand? Or are you just giving a peace sign?
Like he's giving us a thumbs up. Rob's good with the voluntary.
All right.
Did I mute you? Rob, do I keep muting you or do you keep muting you?
I don't know the answer. I think it's me, so I apologize, but I didn't want to stay unmuted for this long in my household. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware, and I see a lot of teachers on here, either where I can see them or hear them. We've had so many conversations. I'm sure Josh should support this, and Jason for sure. I don't even know what it looks like K-5, but just because we even had kids that would reach out to us, it's a whole different teaching mode. You can't just move what you're doing in person onto online or packet work, because we're missing the most important part, what's feedback. So your kids, if you guys are doing homeschooling, they may be doing all the work, But until the teacher says, hey, great job, or have you thought about this, or you're missing this step or point, we're not really teaching. We're just doing a lot of busy work. So we're trying to maneuver our way through that as well. I think there's a lot of misnomers about just packets are great or a Zoom meeting's great. It's not as simple as that. I think that's another reason why voluntary, we're doing the best we can. And just like a teacher in the classroom, there's different levels. I can promise you our staff has different levels about how well they're reaching and providing feedback. It's great if you're on a Google Doc or Cassie's working nonstop with papers and being able to give feedback, but there's a whole lot of kids you can't. And then there's kids who just check in occasionally. Well, that's like missing 4 days of school or 3 days of school. I mean, there's a lot of challenges to this that we're just trying to maneuver. So I just didn't want to make it seem like, well, teachers just have all the answers and the kids aren't doing their part. We're trying to do what we can, but we're dealing with some pieces that we don't have the skills for. So I'll mute myself again.
Okay.
So anything else under superintendent's report?
Nope, I don't think so. We're just trying to keep above water at the moment.
Sounds good. Okay, the next item on the agenda is BEA's initial proposal to the district. Looks like we've got a link we can open and look at that. Michael, do you have any comments to add? It looks like they're proposing base salary increase in the amount of $650 for the upcoming year.
Right. And just so you remember, like, since we did a 5-year contract last year, the only thing that we negotiate this time around is just salary, just base salary. And so we'll probably talk more about that in our closed session coming up in a little bit.
Anybody have any comments or questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, the next item on the agenda then is to move to go into an exempt session as allowed by Chapter 20 of Section 20.17, subset 3 of the code for the collective bargaining negotiation process. So do we have a motion to go into the session? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move into exempt session. And Michael, if you want to speak now, we're going to do that.
Yeah,
And
so-
tell the other people
Right.
what our plan is.
So for everybody else who's just on and listening, we are going to close this meeting now, and then we'll go to a private meeting that's just the school board and me and Julie. And so I'm going to exit this meeting. So I appreciate everybody Zooming in tonight. And we're going to try and link this whole thing to our district website. I'll have Mr. Pickett do that for us tomorrow. I've been trying to manage this, so hopefully everyone had a chance to talk that wanted to. And we'll hopefully in May, it will just be a normal meeting and anybody that wants to join us can. So thanks a lot for tuning in tonight.